So the topic number 3 for today's discussion is about the Xbox Live Showcase. And I want to say, and I feel like I always have to start a conversation like this when it comes to this topic. And that is that I want to make it perfectly clear that I am not an Xbox fanboy or a Microsoft fanboy. I'm not a PlayStation fanboy. I'm not a Nintendo fanboy. I am a gaming fanboy. I love every single iteration of consoles and everything, despite their flaws and despite all the BS. I want all forms of gaming to succeed because I've been gaming for 31 years of my 38 years of existence, in 3 months to be 39. And gaming has played a really big part of my life. It played a really big part of my childhood. It's done a lot of great things for me, which again will be another discussion to be had. But ultimately, I want every single developer, every single studio, every single genre, every single platform to succeed in their vision, right? Because when we all succeed, we actually all win, right? We all have a good time, we all win, and around we go. Now, with all that being said, with the Xbox showcase, right? You have a lot of Xbox purists, right? The ultimate Xbox fanboys and purists that are praising the show, and rightfully so, because it was overall better than what PlayStation had presented, because PlayStation presented pretty much like 90%, give or take, right? Was like just CG trailers of the games, right? With minimal gameplay, if you don't count Spider-Man especially, right? So there was a couple of other games that had gameplay, but for the most part it was like 90% CG and stuff like that. And anyway, so a lot of Xbox fanboys are just praising this as being like the best showcase they've ever done or whatnot. I respectfully disagree. However, with that being said, it was better than Sony's, but at the same time, in my eyes, that's not saying much. Now, again, that's just a matter of opinion, because again, there are players out there and people out there that are open to literally playing anything, even if it's something completely new. So if something didn't appeal to me, maybe that's why it didn't hit as hard. But the thing is, like when I looked at the Hellblade Saga presentation, that part of the presentation, when they showed in-game footage, well, the in-game footage was just, the character walking from one point to the next, but there wasn't really anything gameplay or combat revealed or anything like that. I personally don't consider that gameplay. Sure, it's in-game engine, but it's like I don't consider that gameplay. That is not gameplay to me. Gameplay is when you see like the interactions and the combat and everything like that. Even if it was God of War, even if it was Mario or whatever it was, and they just showed Mario walking around, or if they showed Kratos walking around and really not doing anything and just kind of walking from point A to point B, I really don't count that as gameplay. I don't count that as anything at all. I mean, it's not really showing us anything. It's like, okay, your character can move around. That's fine, whatever. But that's just kind of like one example. There's obviously what's really cool is that that Sega's relationship with Microsoft is strengthening, as well as Capcom's relationship. So there are a couple of heartbreakers though for me personally. Killer Instinct was not at the showcase. Yeah, that was kind of a heartbreak, and neither was Gears of War. We know that Microsoft actually cares about Gears of War, but the thing is, it's probably the developers probably didn't have anything to show, and they probably didn't want to show anything until they're fully ready. And I think what they want to do is ultimately just completely wow the crowd. Like they want to have like the trailer, and then they want to get into gameplay, and then they want to have a discussion about the game, to like a large extent. I don't think the coalition would want anything less for their baby. And Gears of War is a franchise that's very respected. The Xbox heads, the guys that are pretty much running the show, the bosses and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure that they want the community to like what they see as well. So it seems like they're giving the coalition all the time they need in order to get to a point to where they're ready to show it. But for me personally, it sucks that it wasn't there, but it is what it is. A lot of people are like, well, they don't care about Halo because Halo didn't show up. It's like, well, they don't have anything to show either. I guess Project Tatanka is still a ways away. And on top of that, you just have a season 4. And the thing is with Halo, if you really want to wow fans with Halo, and if you really want fans to love Halo again, it's like when you make a presentation on the big stage, it's got to be big. Like if you're going to be on the big stage, the presentation itself needs to be big, because Halo is slowly but surely crawling back into where it needs to be. But at the same time, it's not where it needs to be just yet. It's getting better, but it's not where it needs to be and where it belongs and at the quality and all that other kind of stuff. So putting all that together, it's again, it's a matter of time. It doesn't necessarily mean that Microsoft doesn't give a damn. But at the same time, Microsoft really needs to show also a lot of new things and a lot of other things that have been talked about before. So we're going to get into that a little bit more here. And obviously, they started the show off with Fable, which is great because a lot of fans obviously love Fable. It was announced first, like I think it was 3 years ago, give or take. And it was like a very brief CGI. Well, I don't even think we can even call it a CGI trailer. You know, it was just a very brief announcement type of trailer. And now we got to see a few things. So obviously the people that make Fable are very capable of doing what they're doing, but it needs to be in tip-top shape, and it needs to be where it needs to be in order for us to learn more, and as well as the gameplay and everything like that, because Fable is held to high regard for a very good reason. And it's actually said by a lot of people that Fable 2 has yet to be surpassed. I don't know how true this is, but let's just say it is, right? Let's say it is true. And if Fable 2 has yet to be surpassed, well, I think it's time with this upcoming game, Fable 4, you know, which I don't think we have a release date for yet, is, you know, we can't, we gotta let the devs take their time on this one. I mean, we should do that all the time, but you guys get the point. So let's see, what other game did I actually want to talk about that was released? Obviously Fable was first, and then we've got South of Midnight, which is basically Compulsion's game, South of Midnight, which will come out on the Series X and the PC and day one on Game Pass. And it's an American Deep South specifically, and it looks to be on the Bayou. It's certainly fantasized elements mixed with southern setting. South of Midnight developer Compulsion Games describes the tone as macabre. Is that how you pronounce that? So very interesting, I guess, and we'll see. Now, one of the big highlights for me is a new Star Wars game. It's called Star Wars Outlaws, and obviously with the success of Jedi Fallen Order and with the success of Jedi Survivor, because despite the fact that it kind of had a rough PC port or whatnot, or just a rough port, a little bit of a rough port start in general, you can't underestimate the fact that Jedi Survivor is a great game, and obviously it all started with Fallen Order. So of course they're gonna make more Star Wars games. Of course they are. It people will eat that shit up. It's money, and it features a new protagonist in a world overrun by crime syndicates. And this protagonist is neither a Jedi or a Sith. She's living in the gray world of smugglers and thieves. It's developed by Massive Entertainment, and a gameplay reveal of the open world story driven game is coming during the Ubisoft Forward event on Monday. Now, which obviously was already revealed. Now, one of the things that I kind of can't help but call bullshit on is the fact that this game is said they're promoting this as the quote unquote first open world Star Wars game. And the first thing that comes to my mind is obviously bullshit. And then the second thing is, there's a little game that came out a long time ago, I believe on the original Xbox, called KOTOR, Star Wars KOTOR, also known as Knights of the Old Republic. And obviously people call it KOTOR. So Knights of the Old Republic was so big back then that I even knew about it. And I don't even play RPGs regularly or normally. I don't. And everybody was playing KOTOR. My best friends and their best friends were putting serious amounts of time into KOTOR. And they absolutely loved it and ate it up and spent a ridiculous amount of time with it. And yeah, there's a reason why KOTOR is regarded as one of the best Star Wars games ever made, as well as one of the best RPGs ever made. There's a good reason for that. So don't promote this game as the first open world Star Wars game, because that's BS. So anyway, am I glad that it's open world? Absolutely. Having that kind of freedom in order to go wherever you want at any point in time that you want is obviously great. And the story actually takes place between episodes 5 and 6, by the way. So Luke Skywalker is around, Yoda's around, Vader's around. So when you got characters like that into your game, well, you just never know who you are going to see and when. Han Solo, Princess Leia, you name it. So you just never know. And as a kid who grew up with the original trilogy, I can appreciate that. And it gives me yet another reason to play it, because you never know who will be in that game. I remember people going ape shit when in Jedi Fallen Order when Vader appeared at the end, right? And he was like the final boss of the game. You know, people were going ape shit. People were like literally like, you know, just hyped over it. I still love watching the reactions to this day. But anyway, there's another game called 33 Immortals as well. Payday 3 has actually made their debut trailer. Persona 3 Reload. What else? Avowed. Now this is another big title. Obviously, a lot of people are kind of like a little. Some people are a little bit upset because it doesn't quote unquote look the way they were hoping. But at the same time, ultimately, what matters more than anything is that this game plays the way it plays. So this is actually going to be kind of like a Skyrim type of alternative. So there's high expectations for this game, and it was actually announced a while ago, actually. And now that we got to see some gameplay of it is really good. And again, some people were just expecting it to look better. But ultimately, here's my opinion. And, you know, while my opinion is just my opinion, it's not the end all be all, but here's the way I look at it. Games, for the most part today, even though there's games that some look better than others, absolutely. But games today in general just look good. You know, ultimately what needs to happen is that the gameplay needs to match the looks. Obviously, some games look better than others, but, you know, games these days look really good overall, in my humble opinion. And I know that graphics are important. They kind of always have been when it comes to gaming, but the gameplay to match the graphics, I believe, is something that needs to be intact in order for a game to succeed. Because no matter how good a game looks, if it doesn't have personality, which is its gameplay, right? Gameplay translates to personality translates to gameplay in terms of the gaming spectrum. It's just not going to last. I mean, you can have the prettiest game in the world, but if it's a walking simulator, what is fun about a walking simulator, in my opinion? Maybe there are a few people out there that enjoy walking simulators, but you know, you guys get the point. There's, you know, walking simulator. And speaking of simulators, Flight Simulator 2024 was announced, and there's going to be other stuff that you can do as well, bringing it to another level. Flight Simulator was actually surprisingly, at least to me, surprisingly, was quite popular. A lot of people seem to like it. And basically now that they're bringing it to a whole other level and giving that game some love, and as well as being on Game Pass and all that stuff, is very appealing. You know, I want people that love simulators for whatever reason they do, whether it's because they want to become a pilot, or whether it's because they just enjoy that sort of experience of, you know, doing it virtually or whatever it is. That's great. So I want, you know, I want them to be able to enjoy that. And especially since, like, with today's technology, everything looks so real and the environments look so real. I think that's something that we can't really ignore. And I think it's, you know, there has to be, when it comes to the gaming world, one of the reasons why the gaming world is so popular and so successful financially is because they try to appeal to everybody. Like, they want to make it to where, you know, there's going to be something for everybody. So next up, we've got Sea of Thieves, The Legend of Monkey Island. So if you're all about Monkey Island, that's going to be imported into Sea of Thieves as well. I think a lot of people are going to be really excited about that. Next up, let's see, there's the Dune expansion for the Microsoft Flight Simulator, and Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. I've already talked about that. We really didn't see too much of anything. Just you know, it was very cinematic, and of course it looked really good. And it could have been running in game, but at the same time, one person walking from one area to another area is just really not much of anything to praise over. But hopefully in due time, a lot of people that are fans of Hellblade are going to be able to see more. I really want them to see more. And next up, we have Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. And this one was kind of hilarious to me because it started out, you know, where this guy just woke up on the beach, in the middle of the beach, butt-ass naked. And there was a crowd all over the place. So he's like, what's going on? So yeah. And it's coming in early 2024. And here is something very interesting from Capcom. And Capcom has been on a roll lately. You know, they had this dry spell, right? They had this drought to where, you know, they kind of went dry for a little while. And then, you know, with Devil May Cry 5 and everything else that followed, you know, they've kind of been back, and they've been on a roll, which is great. And hopefully they keep that momentum up. And this one is called Konitsugami Path of the Goddess. It's very Japanese. It looks really great. The vibrant colors are terrific, but yet we don't know much about it. It was basically an announcement trailer. So Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess is described as an epic clash between the spirit realm and mortal man, featuring traditional Japanese aesthetics from Capcom. So that by itself spells potential, because again, the developer is Capcom and it's Japanese. And the premise is actually pretty interesting too. As little as we know, it's pretty interesting. It's like, okay, it's a clash between the spirit realm and mortal man. That's interesting. So it's like, I don't know, for some reason it just reminds me of Ghost of Tsushima. Just describing that alone, but I think it could be something that could really translate into gameplay very well. So we'll see what Capcom does with that. They've shown throughout time and history that Capcom, that they are very capable of creating great games, right? Great games and kind of translate that into gameplay, right? So it's going to be very interesting. So looking forward to seeing how that develops. And then of course, if you are a car/racing fanatic, Forza Motorsport is obviously right up your alley, and Forza Motorsport is going to be the game that is going to be that is obviously going to look pretty in terms of graphical capability. It's going to really show off the power of the Xbox Series X, at least according to the developers themselves. And again, if you're into car racing and if you're into motorsports, it's basically PlayStation has Gran Turismo, Xbox has Forza Motorsport. And obviously these things, I've got a 1440p monitor, and if I were to play Forza Motorsport on it, I have no doubt that the cars would look really nice and shiny. And thankfully, I'm not the biggest car fanatic. I know that's very I know that a lot of guys are, most guys are, but I'm not the biggest car fanatic. I'm more of a home person as opposed to a car person. Not that I don't appreciate a nice car, or not that I don't appreciate a nice sports car, but if I were to win one of these cars, these exotic cars, right? You know what I would do? I'd be like, you know what? Let's sell it right away at auction. Let's just sell this bad boy right away, and I can just collect the cash and put it aside for savings and live life the way I want to live. And it's like, hey, good for you. Sweet, enjoy your car. I'm going to enjoy this money. So, but that's me. But there's a lot of people out there that are not going to do that. Like, they're going to go and they're going to go ride around in it and shit like that. And maybe even just keep it regardless of whatever, because they're big fans of cars. So, but anyway, but yeah, Forza Motorsport, it's going to be very interesting how this game looks, especially. Next up, we've got Overwatch 2. We have Invasion. Now, obviously, as of lately, it's been announced that the PvE mode that they were, I guess, originally developing has been scrapped for whatever reason, but they're getting a bunch of stuff like they got a new Flashpoint game mode, Hero Mastery, a co-op event, firing range, story missions, and a few more things that they haven't discussed yet. So Game Pass Ultimate subscribers can unlock the 6 newest heroes, legendary skins, and in-game cosmetics. It's all coming on August 10th. So people that are loving Overwatch and that are big fans of hero shooters or whatnot, it's going to be getting some love. I actually featured it here on the channel not too long ago. And there were a few gameplays to where it was like I went, one's a gameplay specifically when I went on a 25 gun streak and, I didn't die once. So casual gaming, in my opinion, especially in the quick play playlist, exists in that game. So the fact that a game like that is getting an expansion with more content is obviously always great. And looking forward to what else they come up with. Persona 5 Tactica is another game. Atlas also confirmed that it's working on Persona 5 spin-off game, Persona 5 Tactica, and it's scheduled for release on November 17th, taking Persona 5 into the genre more akin Fire Emblem or XCOM with turn and grid-based gameplay. Let's see what else. And it's scheduled for release on the original Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and Windows. And it's probably going to come to PlayStation as well. So next is Starfield, but we're not going to talk about that because that's going to be the fourth and final main topic, and that's how we're going to finish it off. But until then, let's go on to the next game, Jusant, which is basically a climbing simulator with really cool animations and art design. It's called Don't Nod's next game will be an exploration platformer with an emphasis on all sorts of climbing. The stylish fantasy world of Jusant will debut on fall of 2023. Next up, we have Still Wakes the Deep. Basically, secret mode in Chinese Room debuted in Still Wakes the Deep with a haunting trailer that takes horror to the ocean. It's expected out in early 2024. Gee, how scary can that be? You got the ocean, and then you got horror, of course. Now we've got Dungeons of Hinterberg, and that is it's described as skateboarding on a blade, journaling, and puzzles. And it's basically announced for a 2024 release date. So I'm really pleased to see that a lot of games out there have actually taken to the Overwatch art style, as well as different art styles in games that kind of look cartoony but are not exactly cartoony, and mixing the best of both worlds. Especially when you look at games like Overwatch. I mean, I'm sorry, not Overwatch, but when you look at games like Borderlands, for instance, they've always had a unique art style. So I'm glad that there's different unique art styles coming as opposed to the regular stuff that we see in games nowadays. And next up, Cyberpunk 2077 is getting an expansion. It's called Phantom Liberty, and Keanu Reeves was there in all of his glory, talking about the game and debuting it. And of course, you can't help but love Keanu Reeves. And to top it all off, Idris Elba is going to be in the game as well, so as his own character. That's going to be interesting. And the trailer looked great, and I'm pretty sure Cyberpunk 2077 is playing a lot better now than it did on release. It really breaks my heart that the game was released in the state that it was, but hopefully it got better now, and hopefully whoever is playing it is still into it. But at the same time, a lot of players just never really got back into it because, well, timing is everything, right? And there's other things that come out. So it's kind of like a woman. If you don't grab her attention, somebody else will. All right, let's get on to the next one. Oh, by the way, Phantom Liberty is scheduled to launch on September 26th on PS5, PC, Xbox Series X for $29.99. All right, next up we got City Skylines 2. This reminded me of Sim City. You guys remember Sim City? Holy hell. This is like Sim City on a whole other level where you can literally build anything and everything. I could so see young folks. I mean, I can see this. I can see anybody doing this, but I could so see young folks that really love building shit creating some amazing stuff in this specific game. Like, look up the trailer. You will understand 100% exactly what I am talking about. To even compare this to Sim City, I think it would be kind of not doing it justice. So it's a classic city builder. City Skylines is getting a sequel. City Skylines 2 is slated for release on October 24th. Now, wait a minute. October 24th or 2024? No, it's probably, it's October 24th. So 1 week before Halloween, guys. So that's going to be kind of interesting. I think that a lot of people are going to also are also going to be building some Halloween themed shit. But literally building your own world, and you could probably create something amazing. And you could probably, like, if you're an architect or something like that, you can actually present it to like a board meeting or something like that. Can you imagine that shit? Damn. That's exciting, actually. I wouldn't mind watching some streamers create some shit. Next up, we got Metaphor Refantanzio, which is described as a creative talent behind Persona 3, Persona 4, and Persona 5 are working on a new Japanese role-playing game called Metaphor Refantanzio. Hear Atlas Subgnosis of the game, which is being developed by Studio Zero for PC and Xbox Series X. Write your destiny and rise above fear as you step into the fantasy world unlike anything you've ever seen before. Fraught with unsettling mystery, the kingdom stands on a precipice. Now you must embark on a journey overcoming obstacles and forging bonds with friends. So if they're saying forging bonds with friends, that to me basically says that there may be a co-op element. And for a lot of people out there, what's better than playing a game? It's better to play it with friends. And then we've got Towerborn. People of the world are stocked up on high, living in a single belfry, forced to fight monsters to reclaim their village in the co-op fighter Towerborn, coming in 2024. We've got Clockwork Revolution, and the first thing they're describing it as that it's not BioShock. So BioShock, for those of you guys, obviously everybody knows BioShock. It's a legendary fucking game. I played it myself. I love the original BioShock. It's legendary to me. This one here is described as a steampunk game from inXile's Entertainment set in an authoritarian city where you'll have to change the past in order to control the future. Per the trailer, there are mechs too. Clockwork Revolution doesn't have a release window just yet. I would probably say mid to late 2024 at the earliest, but we'll see. And then, of course, Microsoft announced the new Xbox Series S, which is basically just black, which looks pretty cool, but it costs $50 more because it's just an extra 500 gigs of space. In my opinion, it's kind of a waste because, well, If you just spend a 50 extra dollars after that to 400, you could basically buy a much more powerful console in the PS5. You know, the digital version of the PS4 console is worth that much. So I think you're better off buying that, in my opinion. The only thing that the Series S would have it is that it's got Game Pass. But again, PlayStation kind of has their own version of Game Pass, even though it's not as good. It's still something to consider. So, especially since you're getting a lot more firepower. I mean, the Xbox Series X, the PlayStation 5 digital and non-digital versions are the same in terms of capability, except the fact that the non-digital version has an optical drive, right? So, or in a Blu-ray drive. So that's the only difference. Other than that, it's the same all be all. So, might as well spend the $50 and get a PS5. That's what I would do if I was the consumer looking for something. But yeah, that pretty much covers the Xbox showcase portion of this topic. And again, the biggest thing for me that was a letdown was the fact that Killer Instinct was not at show, and it just goes to show that there's probably nothing in development for it, or at least anytime soon, which is a heartbreaker, because it's the best fighting game of the last decade, guys. I mean, and it was so good. And the thing is, nothing but passion got this game to be together in the first place, and Microsoft picked it up. It's like, why can't you do that again? It only made you money. It's not, you know, it may not be one of your biggest hitters. I mean, I don't know specifics on that, but I mean, there's a community behind it. They love it, and it can only grow. And it was a gem, and it got 4 years of support from 2013 to 2017. So, but yeah, guys, that ends that part. Now, before we get on to the fourth main topic, I want to know down in the comment section what you guys think, and what was your highlight of the Xbox game showcase? What game are you looking forward to? What were you disappointed about? Was it as good as you expected? Was it better? Was it worse? Is the hype real for you? Let me know down in the comment section.